I didn't refuse dramatically. I said it the way you say you're out of milk. I can't do that right now. $20,000. He said it like it was a bridge loan between breaths, like the number itself should reassure me. He didn't explain what it was for. He never did. In our family, urgency replaced explanation years ago. My brother smiled first, not a friendly smile. The one that appears when he's already decided the outcome, and is waiting for you to catch up. Dad was at the table, scrolling through his phone, present in the way furniture is present. You'll get it back. My brother said, lightly. You always do. That wasn't true. It had never been true, but correcting him would have required reopening a ledger I'd spent years quietly closing. I can't, I repeated. The smile thinned. He stood, stretched, and walked toward the back patio with my laptop in his hands. I noticed it then, how casually he'd picked it up earlier, how it had never quite left his possession. I followed him with my eyes, not my feet. The pool cover was half off. The water looked flat and dull, reflecting nothing. "Oh, sorry," he said. The sound was small, not a splash. More like a dropped book immediately swallowed. He didn't rush. He didn't swear. He just looked at me, eyebrows lifted, as if inviting me to share in the surprise of physics. Dad glanced up. Took in the scene. Weighed it quickly, the way he always did. "It's just an accident," he said. Final. Settling dust. I waited for something inside me to rise: anger, panic, the old familiar burn, and felt none of it. What I felt instead was recognition. The moment clicked into place with others like it, lining up neatly. The pattern was complete now. No gaps left to debate. I nodded once. Not agreement, acknowledgement. "I'll deal with it," I said. That seemed to confuse them more than yelling would have. My brother shrugged, already moving on. Dad went back to his phone. The afternoon resumed. The laptop stayed in the pool. That night I didn't sleep much, but not because I was upset. My mind felt narrow and clear, like a hallway with doors I finally intended to open. The laptop wasn't just a machine. It held credentials, access points. I had built things quietly over the years, systems, contracts, dependencies, without ever advertising how interconnected they were. Being underestimated had advantages. It let me work without commentary. I called my bank first, then my firm's compliance officer, then IT. Each call was brief, professional, no emotion required. I didn't mention family. I didn't need to. Passwords changed, tokens revoked, access logs reviewed. At some point near dawn, I made one more call. This one took longer. The man on the other end asked careful questions. I answered them precisely. He told me what would happen next in plain terms. Not as a threat. As procedure. I thanked him and ended the call. At 6:15 a.m., my brother woke up to his phone vibrating so violently it slid off the nightstand. I wasn't in the room when it happened. I didn't need to be. The sound carried anyway, his voice, sharp with confusion, rising too quickly into accusation. Doors opened. Footsteps. Dad's tone shifting from dismissive to alert in the space of one sentence. I stayed where I was, pouring coffee I didn't plan to drink. What arrived wasn't dramatic. No raised voices from strangers. No uniforms filling the driveway. Just authority, expressed in paperwork and timestamps and calm insistence. A process already in motion, indifferent to family dynamics. There was a problem, they explained. A compliance issue. An account freeze pending review. Certain transactions flagged. Access temporarily restricted. My brother argued. He always argued. But his arguments landed nowhere. There was no one to persuade, no emotional lever to pull. The words "just an accident" didn't apply here. Dad tried a different approach. Reasonable concern. Clarification. He asked how long this would take, what could be done. The answer was unsatisfying in the way truth often is. It depends, they said, on what turns up. When they left, or disconnected, or concluded, the form didn't matter. The house felt altered. Not tense, just rearranged. My brother finally looked at me then. Really looked. As if seeing a piece of furniture he'd leaned on for years, now gone. "What did you do?" he asked. I considered answering. There were many things I could say. I chose accuracy. I protected myself. Dad exhaled, slow and deliberate. You didn't have to go this far. I met his eyes. For once, I didn't soften the moment for him. This far was always there, I said. You just never thought I'd use it. No one spoke after that. There was nothing left to negotiate. The hierarchy had shifted, not with a shout, but with a form submission time-stamped hours earlier. The days that followed were quieter. My brother stopped asking for things. When he spoke, he explained himself. Not well, habits don't vanish overnight, but the effort was new. Dad avoided the topic entirely. That was his way of conceding ground without naming it. The laptop was never recovered. Insurance covered part of it. The rest I absorbed. It felt appropriate. A final cost for clarity. What changed wasn't my standing in the family, not exactly. It was how much space I occupied without apology. How silence no longer implied permission. How my no stopped being treated as an obstacle to work around. There was no apology from my brother. No acknowledgement from Dad. I didn't expect either. This wasn't about reconciliation. It was about something quieter. The morning after everything settled, I woke up early again. The house was still. My phone was silent. For the first time in a long while, nothing was being taken from me while I stood there pretending not to notice. And that was enough.